Frankie, over 250 sports people have been honoured here today by the President. You must be delighted to be part of it.
Well, I have to say, Matt, it's a privilege to be invited here to Áras and Uachtaráin. It's something, I'd say, the 250 people inside that hall there are absolutely amazed at the reception we got there from the President. And it's beautiful to be here to represent your family, your club and your county above all. And I am honoured and deeply honoured to be asked here today, and the warmth of the reception here today is really unbelievable.
I say there's some great stories being swapped in there. Brilliant hurlers from Kilkenny and Tipperary all over the country.
Yes, naturally the hurlers are meet more often now, but it's also a privilege to meet other sports people, as the President said, kind of thing. People that we read about going back years ago, Fred Teed and Jim McCourt and all those people, and it's great to see him, see Ronnie Delaney there and all those people, and it's marvellous to see those people like your Keane and Jackie Kyle and all those people there. And they're only people I used to, when I younger altogether kind of thing, used to dream about those people. Never thought I'd meet them or anything, but on a personal thing, it is a lovely privilege to be here today.
Turn to you now, Alfie. Of course, I'm sure you'd echo the sentiments of Frankie. Great to be involved here in Áras and Uachtaráin today.
Absolutely, Matt. It's a wonderful day. It's a surprise to all of us, I think, here, because nobody knew what to expect coming up here. But as Frankie rightly said, 250 people here representing all sports in Ireland, and over a very long period, it's you'd have to be starstruck, regardless of what age you are. The President spoke wonderfully well, and Jimmy Magee and Micheál O'Mahurtig, who presented the whole thing, they were fantastic. As Frankie said, there's so many sports people here. When you see people like Jimmy Doyle coming looking for autographs from footballers, and the footballers seeking out the hurlers and the athletes and the tremendous boxers and Fred Perry, all those lads that were there. It's an occasion. I think the President himself remarked on the year 2000. And I suppose it's our last opportunity to be recognised as to what we contributed to sport in Ireland, and it's lovely to go on record. And I'd say for Frankie, myself and Tom here, it's not just us. There's been some wonderful Waterford people being represented here today, and I think the three of us being here are acknowledging that for everybody in Waterford who represented Waterford in the best of the hurling, the best of the soccer days. And if we in our own way inspire the likes of John Tracy and other people and Susan Smith, well then I'm sure Frankie and Tom will be delighted to say, well, it was all worthwhile.
And turning to you, Tom, I'm sure you go along with Alfie and with Frankie's great day.
I know, can I say much else? I mean, after saying everything I wanted to see, I suppose. I'm coming in last. First thing I saw on here was Alfie was in the car in front of me, so I said I know somebody here on here. Then Frankie as well, so that was a good thing. And I mean, all the rest, like, great sports people, as Frankie said. I met an old friend of mine there now, Willie John Daly and John Doyle, all, fellas that maybe cut shots off you some other day. It's great. It's great to be here to see, to meet all the other sports, and sure, Alfie introduced me to Liam Toohey.
That's right.
There's a Mick Leach.
Yeah, Mick Megan, all the boys, Alpha Nukin again.
I follow all sports, as the
Frankie
and Alfie do as well. Like I'd like to believe that all sports we follow them, and we like to meet the people that play them, look up to them, That's
Were you impressed with Micheál O'Mahurtig when he said he recognised you by your chest, though? You still had the physique you had back in 59.
I'm a bit tired of that, at least it's well to be recognised.
Isn't it? It is true.
That's a good one, all right, yeah. I'm a little bit tired of it all now,
But as you said, Frankie, it's a great honour indeed for Waterford. You must be three very happy men here today.
Well, it's a great privilege, as I said earlier, and as Tom said, kind of thing, and as Alfie said, kind of thing. We are privileged to be here. We're representing Waterford here, and so someone dropped me out of the house at home last night, and he said, "How are you going to get on to tomorrow?" Just all I'm doing is representing Waterford here, and we are privileged people to represent Waterford, and. I'd like to say about Tom kind of thing and Alfie kind of thing. It's lovely to meet Alfie and Tom here today, and we're able to hold our head up high amongst the greatest. And I have to say about Tom kind of thing that Tom, going back to 1st of October down the Granville when Micheál Miritic was talking about Tommy, he said, and he asked Tommy, he said, what way did you feel before the match? He said, I felt terrible nervous. But you ever think, Tommy said, oh, the man was going to play on you? How nervous was he? So that's the way I look at it. It's a very enjoyable day, and I have to say, and I'm delighted about my own wife coming. It's the first time she ever came to a function here today, and she's a little bit nervous about things like that. I'm delighted Eileen came to here today, and I didn't introduce her as Frankie Walsh's wife. I introduced her as Philly Grimes' sister.
And I know, Alfie, your wife shuns the limelight too. Sis, she's shuns the limelight more often than not.
Well, she's certainly enjoying herself today. She's met up with all the lads that she's known before. She met Kathleen coming in with Tom, and I'm sure she'll meet Eileen inside now when they get through meeting everybody else. What I would like to say on a personal note, Matt, I grew up, I'd safely say I'm a little bit younger than the two boys. I hope I am anyway. But I grew up next to the sports field. And the sports field for me was seeing Philly Grimes, Frankie Walsh, Tom Cheasty, Larry Guinan, my next door neighbour. All these guys in action with Mount Sion, with Dunhill, and with Éireann Zone, and seeing all the club games, and then seeing Waterford at county level play. And it was a great inspiration to all of us. And I think when somebody says, look, what is it like mixing sports? When you put on a pair of boots or a pair of spikes or athletics, or you get the hurley in your hand, basically it's the same pride that you have in your mind, that you're going out to represent your club or your county, and you're going to give the best shot you have. And I think if we have anything to offer now, it's the teams of the 60s in Waterford winning the All-Irelands and Waterford doing well in the soccer, is that there's one thing in common us three guys had here, and we had it with all the great sportsmen, Philly Grimes, John O'Neill, Al Casey, Tom's old friends back to Jim Ware, and the wonderful, wonderful John Keane, that they had a sense of tremendous pride in Waterford and giving it the best shot in every time they turn out for the club or the county. And I think if we can leave that sort of legacy behind us, I think that's enough and that's as much as we can do for them. But from our own point of view, from a selfish point of view, we've had a wonderful day. It's great to see the President acknowledge all the wives and the people who back up all of us, because you know, it can be a very lonely life for the people that are not involved and in the background. But having said it all, 60 years on, I think the boys agree it's all been worthwhile.
Jimmy, Frankie Walsh and Tom Cheasty, what did it mean to you?
Well, if I was picking a team, there'd be 2/3 of the half-forward line anyway. I mean, Cheasty was fantastic. Rugged, strong, skillful, leader of the line, used the ball well, could score himself. Just fantastic. And Walsh, elegant, quick, clever. Ballyduff was one of them, I think. Frankie was Mount Sion. Two absolutely outstanding players. Indeed, Waterford, in my lifetime, have had some wonderful teams and great players. And when I look back the records, I find it strange that they didn't win more. They really should have won more, because Waterford, with the Guinan and Flannelly and Martin O'Morrissey and Kiley and Barron, Austin Flynn at fullback, mighty team, well represented here today by Mercia's Walsh and Cheasty. Good ones.
And it's lovely to see the lads. They're so proud to represent Waterford here in Áras on Uachtaráin today, Jimmy.
Oh yeah, and why not? I mean, Port Larriga, a lot to be proud of there in every sport. I spent a lot of time actually in Waterford when I was a much younger man. I actually worked down in, I think it was Adelphi Quay in British Rail. I was a clerk there, believe it or not. So I have some little connection with Waterford, whatever that may be.
Talk to me, Jimmy, about Alfie Hale. He was a very, very special forward.
He was a very special man, not just a forward. Indeed, the whole Hale family, you know, steeped in Waterford football tradition. I remember growing up, there was a great Waterford team in the mid-50s. Jimmy Gall came over to play with them. And Eddie McElvenny, who had played for America in the World Cup in 1950 when they surprised England. And there was all the Hales. There was Georgie and Harry and Alfie and Dixie, the great Dixie, who played right half. But Alfie was fantastic. He was an Ireland international and a terrific player. Could score, I mean, he could score goals to beat the band. There's fellas talking about players now, worth this and worth that. Look, if you had a 25, 26-year-old Alfie Hale, what should he be worth today? 10 million. You wouldn't get him for 10 million. And a strange thing about Alfie, he played with a few clubs, but he played with St. Patrick's Athletic for a season and played a sweeper. And they played in a cup match at Milltown, the much lamented Milltown, against a young Shamrock Rovers team, with a load of boys on the team. And one of those boys was my son Paul, playing centre forward against the legendary Alfie Hale. Paul, I'm sorry, you didn't get a kick.